Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are two retired New York City police detectives, and if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon and Ed Wallace when we go live or upload another video. Tonight we're going to talk about little baby Quinton Simon. We also have a Harmony Montgomery update. We'll get to that at the end of the show. Ed, how you doing tonight? Where are you? Are you at an undisclosed location? What's happening?
I'm at an undisclosed location. That's correct.
How did I know that?
I told you before we came on camera. That's what.
There you go. Yeah,
Captain Obvious.
Listen, it's great. It's great to have you, Ed. We're going to talk about the forensic side of this case. Quinton Simon, 20 months old, reported missing. Another one of these capers where the parents say, well, he was here and then he was gone. It sounds like Summer Wells-ish to me. But we have the mom as the sole suspect, as they call it. I hate when they say person of interest.
Person of interest.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Such an annoying statement. But hey, let's give thanks and praise to our subscribers, the folks who moderate, everyone who positively engages here on Crime Time with DutyRon. My Patreon supporters, the people who engage us after the chat is over down below in the comment section, and our replay viewers. I thank you guys so much. Ed and I appreciate you tremendously. And I know Ed sometimes gets caught up. He gets hooked by some of the chat, but he's a teacher. So when he sees people talking about the wrong things, he always has to correct it. So it's time consuming, right, Ed?
Yeah, but it's not a point of trying to correct it. It's I want people to be factual, and I don't want them to be misunderstood or walking around with some misimpressions.
Right. I understand. I sometimes have a bad way of delivering a message. Karen, Legal Minded Friends over in the UK, she said to me, well, she said in the chat, she go, DutyRon, I'm going to try to stay up late. What time is it in the UK right now, Karen? It's probably like 2-3 o'clock or something like that, a.m. So, Ed, look, here's your good friend Gary, Boxing MMA from Ireland. But let's jump right into this thing. Yeah. Ed, October 5th, fast forward to today, we're into the 24th, almost 20 days. You got a 20-month-old that allegedly was discarded in a dumpster by his allegedly mom and brought to this waste management landfill outside of Savannah, Georgia, in Chatham County. I kept saying Chatham, and people were correcting me on the last live. Chatham County, Georgia. The temperatures are probably not, sweltering, but not good. What are you looking at, Ed? Here, we look for you. We look to you for the crime scene end of it. You're a forensic expert. You're a crime scene unit, retired detective. What are you looking at from the first day, from the get-go?
Okay, before you start with the detective finding, when was the last time and location the child was seen alive? Okay,
6 a.m. Wednesday morning.
Okay, and what are the normal activities of the child? For that time of the week and the day and so forth. What do they normally do? What are the normal activities of the guardians of the child? You look for movements. You look for unusual behavior. You look for your digital footprint, cell phone pings, locations, media searches, YouTube searches, Google searches. You look for a digital footprint, if you will, of what was going on in the days before, the day of, and the days after the child is missing. And you lock down a story and information from those that last saw and were in custody of the child. Right. And then for there, you try to verify their statements. Now, from a forensic standpoint, the digital footprint is huge, and to try to track down movements, and then also you're looking for not only cell phone pings and GPS information, but security cameras, home surveillance systems on houses, vehicle, seeing the movement of the vehicle of the parties involved, and things of that nature. So apparently, they have a lot of this.
Right. Yeah. Well, we heard from the police chief, right? So this report happens early in the morning, somewhere around after 9 a.m., I think 9:40 on Wednesday the 5th. On the 6th, the very next day, Chief Hadley from the Chatham County Police Department holds a press conference. But I'd like to just walk through with you, Ed, because there's so many people who are following this case and that are wondering, search warrants. They talk loosely about search warrants obtained. We don't know. We didn't see any footage. We didn't see if they went into that home, but we have to assume you start at ground zero and you work your way out. Are they, confiscating all tech from inside that home? Are they using luminol? Are they looking for blood? Are they looking for, this is, again, a lot of people, layman's terms, people are looking for kind of directions. What did they do? What is the potential here? We can't say what exactly they did because we don't have access, but what would be a safe thing to speak about what needed to be done early on in that first 48?
Okay, so you lock the mother and the grandmother statements down, and then identify again the last time and place the child was seen. Now, was the child in the bedroom? Did the mother put the child to bed, and then when she wakes up, she can't find the child? Well, then you start investigating from the child's bedroom,
right?
Okay, and then you work your way out from the bedroom to the other parts of the house. Okay, now. Typically in this case, I would get consent or a warrant if I could do that. I would prefer a warrant, but they may not have probable cause to get a judge to sign off on a warrant. But at this point, the parents, the custodians of this child, if they haven't incriminated themselves, can give consent and allow them to search. If they're professing their innocence, then allow the officers in writing with consent to search the house to see if somebody broke in, if there's any sign of forced entry, any signs of ransacking, any other things missing, right. Search the child's bedroom, bathrooms, anything right. Associated in that area.
Yeah, it's important too, and I've heard, Bill Cannon over on Police Off the Cuff, retired homicide detective sergeant, and from my own experience, getting statements early on is important because when you re-interview the people who are close to Quinton, you want to get a re-interview from them to see if there's any discrepancies in their statements. They've already named the mom as the prime suspect. Okay. Some people argue what's the upside to that? Now you're going to freak her out and let her go on the run. We talked last live stream about Brian Laundrie, right? Remember Northport Police Department? Ed, and you and I, our heads exploded on that one. They supposedly had eyes on him. They set up cameras in the backyard. They had detectives or police officers staking him out, and they mistook him for his mother. They thought the mom was him, and the whole thing was just a cluster. You would hope that they would have eyes on the baby's mother, Liana.
Let's pray that they do.
Yeah, I hope and pray. And again, I know that that we have limited information on this police department size and what their capabilities are, but I'm not going to say here like, oh, they're going to drop the ball on this. We listened to the police chief. He sounded very confident. They asked if you had, if you knew of her whereabouts, and he said, I can't comment on that. So, Ray Kelly, our good friend, jumping in, he says, Northport PD botched it. Yeah, they damn sure did. Hey, listen, I want to just take everybody to fast forward to today. There was an interview done with the mom. Did anybody see that with Quinton's mom? They interviewed her. She started crying. We have limited data on the father, the baby's father. We know he's out there. There has to be a baby's father to this. No interviews I've seen. Try to scour the internet for any bona fide interviews with the father. We know that the mom was here present with her. So let's let this play for a minute, Ed, so everybody can soak this in, because this is an Academy Award as far as I'm concerned. I know you feel the same way. Let us know in the chat how you feel about this. Let us know what you're thinking in the chat about this interview that I'm about to play, and we'll let it rip.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for the news at 6. I'm Dawn Baker. In a WTOC exclusive, Leilani Simon, the mother of missing Chatham County toddler Quinton Simon, is speaking out tonight for the very first time since he was reported missing nearly 3 weeks ago. Chatham County Police and the FBI believe Quinton is dead and are actively searching a local landfill for his remains. Police say Leilani is the only suspect in his disappearance as well as his death. And tonight we have team coverage with our Shay Schrader and investigative reporter Max Dieknike. We begin with Shay, who joins us live outside of the Simon home. Shay, what did she talk to you about?
Leilani and I spoke about a number of things, including what she remembers from the morning she first reported Quinton missing to what life has been like as the days have gone on, still with no sign of Quinton. I talked to Leilani as well as her mother, Billy Howell, who were both just distraught over Quinton's disappearance. They say they've been harassed in the days and weeks since Quinton disappeared, but Leilani wants everybody to know that she's not running away.
I'm here. I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
Chatham County Police have repeatedly said that though they've named Leilani the prime suspect in her son's disappearance and death, they don't believe she's a flight risk. Leilani says that she and her mother, Billy Howell, spend their days in the backyard of their home because it's too difficult to be inside with reminders of Quinton and the fact that he's gone.
Every day that goes by is less tears and more anger, not knowing what's happening, if that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come.
CCPD and the FBI haven't released many details in the case and haven't said why they believe Quinton is in a landfill. Police say they're doing that to preserve any potential court cases down the line. Leilani and Billy tell me that they get their new information about the case from watching the news and that they feel all they can do now is hope.
We want something great to come out of this, but mostly we want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found happy and alive. We want him back in our arms, holding us. That's what we want. We just hope that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and we're hoping that, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior.
Wow.
But it's not. That's their best hopes at this point.
Chatham County Police say they have no reason to believe that Quinton was abducted or kidnapped, and they have evidence that suggests he was placed in a dumpster and that his remains are in the landfill that they're currently searching. Leilani Simon hasn't been charged with anything at this time, but police say she is the only suspect in her son's disappearance.
So there you have it. What's your thoughts on that one, Ed?
Well, she made a classic mistake. With that one,
we learn more.
Hold on, Ed.
Live in Chatham County.
I can't find my mouse. I know I got the exterminator was here. I couldn't find the mouse. I couldn't get us back on. So she made a mistake.
She made a classic bad guy mistake with that statement. If they do find something that says I did it or that I'm responsible, I'll turn myself in. I've seen that kind of statement made time and time again by guilty parties.
Right. And I noticed too the body language of her mom. She was turning her face away from her, almost like it seemed to me as a seasoned investigator in disgust. So I'm going to have our good friend Bob take a peek over at this body language that these two displayed, and a couple of other friends I'm going to share it with. But yeah, I mean, this to me is classic. But when I saw it, you had read the statement, and I said, "Well, I got one better. You're gonna see it for yourself." So, I mean, the two of them gave that interview, I believe, in the backyard of her home, and there's all protesters out in front of the house, people from the community, people from all over the place out front, just demanding answers. It's sort of the same thing as what we saw in Northport at Brian Laundrie's home. Ed, what I want to, because I know you got a brief time to hang out with us tonight. I wanted to talk about the landfill. We're watching them scour. Well, they did for 4 days, then they took a break over the weekend, and there was a lot of people who were following this thing, Ed, and they were saying, "How dare they take a break on the weekend? Like, they should be looking for this child night and day." And you know what? I'm not going to argue with that. They should be looking for him night and day, but they said they took a break for mental health, for health reasons for the workers, to regroup and to get a plan of action going forward. Do you want to talk about maybe why that was important for them to do that? And, because you searched at Staten Island landfill, fresh kills, during 9/11, and you can talk to the folks here about how grueling that was to do that. Here in the Northeast, people were saying it was 80 degrees down there. So I was wrong about the temperature. I didn't think it was that hot, but they said the temperatures have been soaring in that location.
Yeah, recently I was talking to a friend in South Carolina this past weekend, and it was 75 degrees in his neck of the woods, but he's just a little north of there. So, but there's all kinds of fatigue that goes on in these types of operations. Hello. Yeah. So, first you're wearing tie-back suit, which doesn't breathe, and you're sweating profusely, which is dehydrating you, especially in those temperatures. Okay. Now, if they only have limited amount of personnel to do this, then you're relying on the same people every day to work whatever their shifts are to do this. And they're going to need both a physical break and a mental health break from what they're doing. Now, when we were in New York City at 9/11, and that's not the only landfill operation that I worked. I've worked several landfill digs and searches over my career, and also some other facilities, sanitation facilities, where garbage were dumped before loaded into a barge on the Manhattan Hudson River. But anyhow, we had 24/7 coverage on this, on the landfill operation. So we were going in 12-hour shifts, both day and night. And so, we had different personnel coming in, rotating in. It wasn't the same people every day on every shift, right. So that, people weren't getting burnt out. And they do need that physical and mental health break from this. Plus, it's very easy in that hot sun with no overhead protection to get dehydrated in those suits. You have to constantly be drinking fluids.
Right. Yeah. It's a dangerous, they did it 4 days straight, I believe 12-hour days. But the weekend came and they took a break and people were outraged by it. Like, how dare they, the kids out there, they know he's in their state, making the statements that they know he's in the landfill. We don't know if this was because they have footage or if they got a statement from somebody. Again, the case file is not open to the public. I want to go back to the video too with mom and the grandma. When we see Leilani talk and say, put the crying, not the crying, but put the upset face on. I didn't see any tears, but when she talks about her son, she never once mentions him by name. And that's, like, for me, that's a big red flag. They both didn't say, "Grandma wants you home. Mommy wants you home. We miss you. Whoever's got you, bring him back." They just said, "We hope that someone that couldn't have a baby has him and is feeding him." But they never mentioned them by name.
Yeah. Again, this goes back to what I said in many cases. You have normal behavior in parents dealing with situations like this, and then you have the abnormal behavior. And in my opinion, this falls in the abnormal behavior. Now, you may say each person deals with things differently, but it's incomprehensible for me as a parent if I got information or law enforcement believes that my child who's missing is in a landfill, I'd be at that landfill every day.
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't see that. And then on top of things. She's not helping herself by her activities. Going to a bar and bumping and grinding or whatever she's alleged to have done in the bar, and
doing shots and getting bartenders' numbers and trying to hook up or make contacts with people. She actually sent the text message to the person after they left. They were drinking shots of Patron. That's just behavior that a grieving mom or a mom that's upset shouldn't be doing. Activities that she shouldn't be doing. She should be handing out flyers. She should be out with the people who are out in front of her house. Maybe, maybe not those people because they're being a little hostile towards her because of the lack of activity. But handing out flyers or like you said, shouting from the rooftop for her son, demanding answers from the police department. But what we see is the complete opposite. She's shut down. Somebody told me last night on DutyRon.com that the mom was seen twerking in the window of her home, egging on the people who are outside protesting in front of her house or demanding answers. So I mean, this is indicative of somebody that's not mentally well, and she's definitely not thinking in the right frame of mind. What were you going to say, Ed?
Well, she's not doing anything to garner sympathy for her missing child and her plight.
Right.
She's not showing any of the normal, what I would deem normal signs of a parent who's missing their child.
Right. Yeah. No compassion. There are lots of people in the chat here. No compassion for that baby boy. Just everything that would tell you she's wreaking guilt there in that interview right there. And unbeknownst to her, it's clear and apparent that, she is not concerned about what's going on. She's more concerned about when they're going to find him. And that was my takeaway from that interview. But I want to grab you because we're into the almost 30 minutes here. Let's talk about the landfill and the search. I'm going to put this back up on the screen. We see a whole bunch of we know that the FBI is involved. They said personnel from Quantico arrived on the scene here. What do we got going on here with these trucks, the 2 tents? You want to tell the audience a little bit about what that is?
You have a combination of things going on here. You have your command tents, you have your communication tents, you have your dress out tents, you have equipment storage, and things of that nature going there. You have your rest area, place to eat, and get some drink and rest. You can see some of these units are air conditioned, and others are not. And so, that's there you have your PPE storage where they'll have to get dressed out and where they'll get briefed on what they're doing today. Now, the typical landfill operation, the carters of the garbage know exactly where in the landfill a specific load was dumped. And so they've targeted that area based upon their investigation. And you can see as they're traversing this little ravine that has like a little dirt bridge, if you will, over the ravine, they have equipment laid out that looks like clean.
Right on the orange?
On the orange tarp, and there's a table there. They have clean tarps, and they have their equipment on top of them where you have clean rakes and shovels and things of that nature to assist them going through the spread out debris that was placed there for them to search. And they'll go through it methodically. They'll line up along it shoulder to shoulder and work their way through it. If it's done methodically, they'll switch directions and go back at it in different directions to recover areas a second time. And once it's cleared, then it'll be removed and then prepped for a new area to be searched. So it seems like you have one area that's already staged and ready to go, and you have a second area being prepped.
Right. Yeah. The lower area here where the machinery is working, I would assume that's the prep. And these 2 machines are standing by, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they're different. This one has a long plow on it. This one's a digger, and this one's got, Rocky.
You have a backhoe.
Rocky will yell at me because he does this stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the backhoe. This is kind of
You
like
have a dozer.
and then this one is
That's the backhoe. It looks like it has a front bucket, and then it has a rear attachment. This one is an excavator, and that looks like a bulldozer.
yeah. So Ed, I'm going to put us back on and then come back to this. So essentially what we're looking at here, and this is, you know, again, not for the faint-hearted. This, if the intel is correct, is the burial ground for Quinton Simon. This is where he was discarded and then carted off, discarded in that dumpster, which the police chief said, we know a specific dumpster he was deposited in and then removed here to this waste management location. Ed, you want to take that one from Sue Fisher?
Yeah, no, cadaver dogs don't do well at landfills. There's too much decomp going on in the garbage there. So it would only lead to confusion. In addition, folks, that's another thing, you know, these are not the best smelling places. There's a lot of decomp going on in there just from the normal food and so forth that's found in trash. A lot of flies, a lot of insects. And in addition, the methane is perking out of this ground. So, you know, we when we do landfill operations, especially if they're in an enclosed landfill, like we put a tent up over this location, we have to monitor the atmosphere inside of the tents so that the methane doesn't build up to explosive or flammable levels. And these people are inhaling this over time, you know, even though they're in an open air environment, it still can be quite nauseous.
Yeah, and we saw up close photos, which I'll show here as well when we're done with this video. They're wearing the Tyvek suits, but they also have this breathing apparatus, but it is not self-contained where you have oxygen. It's not like, you know, firefighters that are going into fires with breathing apparatus. This is just filtered masks.
Yeah. It's called, it's an air purifying respirator. And is it the cartridge kind? Did you see it? Because I didn't see it.
The two side cartridges.
Yeah. So they have so it's a half face respirator. If a half face just covers the nose and mouth, it doesn't cover the entire face, and it has the cartridges on it. Now the cartridges are specific to filter out certain things. So it could be a particulate filter. It could have activated charcoal, and that would mean that it would be able to filter out organic vapors. In that case, it's probably a combination of HEPA for particulates and organic vapors for to reduce or stop the smell of methane or decomp.
And Ed, how good of records? How accurate is the records of where the pickups are for the days in question? In other words, do they know October 5th we took the garbage to this exact location, October 6th, and so forth? Or is that something that you don't really have knowledge of?
Well, it's only good as good as the record keeper,
right?
And you know, and the truck driver. I mean, you know, the truck driver is told, okay, you're going to go to this location, this section, and dump your stuff. Okay, you hope that, in fact, that the driver does go to the right location, and typically, you know, when the drivers go, there's usually people waiting there for them to push the garbage in and run it out over the field, and then typically, you know, over time they'll put soil on top of it to cover it up.
Right. Well, I'm hoping that it's you know, federally mandated that they document this stuff and they do it well. This is a waste management facility, and that's a pretty large company. We have them here in the Northeast. I think they're all over the country. So I'm hoping and praying that they sooner than later locate this child's remains. I want to talk to you too about the bird activity. We're going to see coming across the screen here. You looked at this with me earlier, and you said it was a turkey vulture.
Turkey buzzard.
Turkey buzzard. Okay. Do you want to talk about your experience during 9/11 and in settings like this? Is there a possibility that these buzzards will pick up human remains?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. And it's not just buzzards, it's whatever the indigenous bird life here is going to be. But in New York City at the landfill, we had seagulls, pigeons that were invading our search areas. And if you left the search areas unattended, and sometimes even when they were attended, the seagulls can be quite aggressive. And they would land on the piles of debris that were spread out by the truck. Remember, our materials from Ground Zero were first put into a large dump truck and initially driven from Manhattan to the Staten Island landfill. And then the areas were prepped for them to come and lay down the materials. And then the teams of detectives would move in with our rakes and so forth and go through the materials. And then if they found something of interest, they would pick it up and then bring it over to the crime scene table where we'd be waiting to photograph it, document it, have our forensic anthropologists and odontologists and look at these items to make sure that they were in fact human before we went on to document them, package them, and put them in the refrigerator truck for pickup by the morgue.
Yeah.
But the birds were an issue because they would land on the debris field that was spread out by the dump trucks, and we would chase them away, and they would take things. They're opportunistic in that fashion. And so first we tried pyrotechnics. We would the bomb squad would light fireworks, and it would scare them up in the air, but they would come back shortly thereafter, and it was an ongoing battle with them. And then finally we got a hold of a bird keeper who had contracts with the Port Authority airports in the New York City area, Newark, New Jersey, LaGuardia, and JFK. And what this guy does is he has falcons, birds of prey, and he'll bring his birds out to a location that you want to remove birds like seagulls, geese, ducks, waterfowl, and pigeons, and whatever the case. And he would put his birds in the air, and once those seagulls and pigeons saw these falcons in the air, they were out of there. Wow. And so he did that several times, and the animals do learn. Even like I have a church lot next to my house in Staten Island, and one morning I heard the squawking of geese, and I was like, oh hell no, these Canadian geese are here. If they set up shop in that lot, it's going to be a nightmare. So I would go out there with my dog, and I would chase them out. Now they would go up and fly away. I wouldn't harm anything, just chase them, and they would go up and fly away. They would come back. I would do it again. They'd go up and fly away. They'd come back. I would do it again. And after doing it so many times, they stopped coming back. Okay, and the same thing occurred at the landfill after those hawks got up in the air several times. It's like they went out over a bird communication network and said, "Hey, don't go there no more. You're in danger if you go there."
That's unbelievable. I mean, people are going crazy in the chat, Ed, over the bird stuff. When you have garbage, that's this is a food source for them, so they're not there like everyone's they're going to pick remains. No, they're going to be picking anything that they could possibly get to eat, and there's an unlimited source at a
it's not just birds. It's not just birds. It's rodents, it's raccoons,
right?
It's other animals as well.
It's just there's a ton of stuff there, so don't get too caught up on and listen, I think that there may be methods in this controlled, like here we see a bird going right by here. I stopped it at that, Ed. I'm sure that this, I mean, although this to our eye from a drone looks like not a huge area, this is a lot of there's a lot of area, but they could potentially cover it with netting of some sort, Ed?
Well, in the evening, yeah. If they're going to leave that pile out there for further search the next day, if they're finishing up their operations, I don't see any mechanical lights, any light generators out there or anything that would suggest that they were doing night ops. So it's apparently they're doing day ops, and so at night before you go away, you cover it all up with tarps.
Right.
And you lock it down and to keep those birds from getting at it.
Yeah. I'm going to let the rest of this play. It is just, again, to give everybody outside the country or anybody who doesn't have access to United States media, this is what's out there. And this is a very good shot right here of the debris field of that, what they're looking at. And I'm sure that they're going to do this in sections, Ed. It's this whole area that is cleared off and leveled. You could see the bulldozer lines. I don't know if you guys could see with my mouse. I'm going across it. You could see how they cleared this intentionally. So it's not just these two little pieces. They probably have to search this whole entire area. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm going to let a little bit more of this play. We have Sleuthy Goosey. She's coming on. Sleuthy's going to come on and ask us. She's going to give us a barrage of questions because I already saw them on my phone. So once she sent them to me on my phone, I said, why don't you just come up and you can ask us these questions? And it's all related to this. And there's a couple on. She has some knowledge on the search warrant. And by the way, Ed, I'm going to send it to you. I didn't get a chance to, but she sent me a complete timeline on this case. That's some of the things that she does the best is creating like timelines and documenting it. Can we talk about this right here? So it looks like a very uneven line. Is this because here you see blue tarp here? Is this for when they have things of question that they will collect and maybe bring back for analysis?
I'm not sure if it's a tarp or a bag. But it looks like, yes, they're moving in a wave. So as certain people are progressing further into the pile than others, it looks like they're bagging stuff up. Yeah, that little blue thing is a bag. And so I guess they're going to bag some stuff up, bring it away, and then into a more controlled environment and take a look at it closer.
Yeah. This is good footage because it gives you a pretty well. This is now from the ground, and then they're throwing the drone back up.
I just remember in New York City, many of our public parks were once landfills.
Right. Yeah. Let me. You're correct about that. And there's the one right across from Starrett City, right? That was the Starrett City landfill, and now it's a national park. They converted it back. So that was a landfill right across from Starrett City, right off of Pennsylvania Avenue on the Bell Parkway.
Well, Staten Island landfill is now a public park.
Yeah, and they've converted this Starrett City, that landfill, back into a park, and you can see it if you drive past the Bell Parkway. All right, so let me just get my next piece that I'm going to share with you guys, and then we'll bring Sleuthy on, and she can ask some questions. So everybody here that's with us, hold on, let me just take this off. Sorry about that, guys. Everybody that's here with us, if you're new and you're just joining, consider subscribing to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We're two retired detectives from the city of New York. Ed's a crime scene unit and evidence collection and DNA specialist. He teaches across the United States. As a matter of fact, that's what he's doing right now. But he's busy. He's doing a lot of work, and he's here to educate you guys on all things evidence collection, detective, crime scene related, and things of that nature. All right, let's grab Sleuthy. Let's get her on, Ed, before you have to go, because once you go, then that's it. It's over. Sleuth, how are you?
Good. How are you all?
All right.
I got questions for you.
I know you do. You warned me in the private chat. I feel like I need to put Kevlar on every time you come on.
Well, this is specifically like forensic stuff because we've seen a little bit more for this case. Mm-hmm. So one of my questions is, what would be the purpose of the crime scene technicians hanging when they went back to serve the second warrant on the house? They put up black contractor bags. Well, they looked like contractor bags on the doors and the windows. What would they have been doing?
Okay, so usually when you're doing something like that, you're trying to darken your environment. Now, several things could be done where that would be required. One would be use of Blue Star or luminol. searching for blood with a chemical fluorescent. So what happens is, again, I spoke about this before. It's an aqueous solution where you spray it on surfaces where you suspect blood once was, and if blood is present, it will adhere to the blood and cause a blue glow known as a chemical luminescence. And then they can also be doing that for alternate light source work, where they're using various wavelengths of light to try to find blood or other forensic evidence, hairs and fibers, other body fluids and things of that nature. Now, under UV, blood does not fluoresce, but it absorbs the UV wavelength and then turns black. And so if someone tried to clean up a crime scene, these are some of the tools that you might use to do that. And in order to document it correctly, you need to darken the environment.
Okay, so basically, just for evidence, I guess kind of like DNA, biological evidence.
Or it could also be chemical if you try to use a cleaner, cleaning fluids, yeah.
And then my other question that pertains to that is, what would all need to be, like, what kind of amount, and if you can answer, what specifically evidence would need to be found in order for an agency or multiple agencies that don't have a body to be able to firmly tell everyone that they believe a person is deceased?
Well, time, no communications, no, in this case, no ransom notes or any kind of kidnapping. If in fact the statements that were locked down on the initial interviews turn out that they're false and they can be proven false, a circumstantial evidence case can be made for homicide or murder without a body. And again, I've had several cases where we charge suspects with murder and never had recovered the body and got convictions.
Yeah. Yep. You know, a lot of this right now, because we're all guessing, we're kind of like picking at straws here to kind of feel out what they have and why they're saying she's the sole suspect, she's the only suspect. Why aren't they naming other people? It could be a whole host of reasons why they're doing this, and they could have other suspects, but they just don't want to spook everybody. And I think they definitely have eyes on her. You know, they definitely have eyes on her, and I'm hoping and praying that they never keep those eyes off of her, however they're doing it. Now, people have made suggestions to me through DutyRon.com, and they've directed it to you, Ed, but I just didn't bog you down with these questions, about ankle monitors and things of that nature. You need to be in custody. The police just can't go strap an ankle monitor on someone and say, hey, we think you're a suspect and we're going to put this on you. It doesn't work that way. So they have no monitoring device that's a violation of somebody's rights. If you're not placed under arrest or on probation, parole, it's specifically for parolees. For the most part, she's not under house arrest where, you know, they're monitoring her movements. Now, there's secret squirrel stuff that we won't get into that can be employed here for surveillance that could be used. And I hope and pray that they're using that. But we don't know, you know, and without access to that case file, and even if we had access to it, Ed and I wouldn't be talking about it. Obviously, they're not talking about it, so we're not going to, you know, be some shitheads and start talking about that stuff.
Look, this whole operation at the landfill is expensive and time consuming and a lot of man hours. All right, so they're not doing this. Yep. Because they don't have strong evidence. They have strong evidence, and that's what's placing them there. Okay, and now they're diverting monies from their speed cameras to fund this search. Okay, so when I was a little taken back when the chief made that first press conference and named her a suspect and said that the child was dead, without without her being arrested or without putting any further evidence forward, or making a case in the press conference for why he did, because he didn't clarify it. It's very unusual. But then I said to myself, well, they must have a lot of good evidence, a lot of strong, maybe circumstantial evidence, a lot of electronic evidence, video evidence, or photographic evidence, whatever the case may be. And then I said, well, maybe he did this to see if she would spook and go on the lam and, run, knowing that his people were out there watching her 24/7.
Right. It's sort of a method that we refer to as tightening the noose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she's got, her world is this wide in the beginning. She makes that report. Oh, somebody he disappeared. And then through interviews and through circumstantial evidence and through interviews of other people, i.e. the grandma, it starts to narrow down. And when you have somebody narrowed down into an area of, listen, it's either you give us what happened or we're going to find out ourselves. A lot of times people do crack. But here we are almost 20 days into this thing. And she's not cracking. As a matter of fact, she's doubling down, as we see here. She's doubling down. And I mean, I'd be curious to know in the comment section down below what you guys think of the interview from today. This thing was uploaded just an hour ago, and it was, we played it in the beginning of the show. We'll play it again for those of you who haven't seen it. What do you got here, Ed, from Sue Fitcher?
She said, Ed, do you think Quinton can be found after stating how difficult this is with a landfill? Look, this is a short time frame from time of the possible disposal and reporting to the time of dumped at a landfill. I've had cases where months of debris were placed on top of a suspected location where a body had been disposed, and it was found. It's a painstaking process, and it takes time and effort. And sometimes it takes a couple of hours. Sometimes it takes a couple of months to dig through all of this stuff and find it. Just, how tenacious do you want to be? How much money do you want to spend? How far are you willing to go?
Yeah. Sleuthy, you got any other questions? Because we're getting towards the end here.
My other one, I guess, is just for the dogs at the landfill, because I've been seeing a lot of people ask why they wouldn't just bring like cadavers out there. Is there a particular reason why they would be wanting to do this like by hand, piece by piece?
Ed, 1 second. So, Sleuthy, I don't know, maybe you weren't here, but we did address it, but we'll address it again. Ed spoke openly about that while we were showing the footage at the landfill. But go ahead, Ed, if you want to take that.
Yeah, there's just too much decomp smell out there from the various food sources that are decomposing in the landfill, and rotten vegetables, all kinds of different things out there that will just confuse the dog. And then a lot of times cadaver dogs, some of the basic training involves decomped food and things like that, but they move on to bones and some actual tissues that they get from donated science body parts and so forth to train the dogs. But it's like you wouldn't bring a dog, an arson dog you wouldn't bring a bomb dog into a post-blast scene, because there's too much explosive residues around and it only works to confuse the dog. And yeah, besides all of the degradation products, the composition of the landfill materials, it's the production of methane too that causes a problem for the dog.
Right. And let me ask you too, Ed, listen, the search at the landfill, a lot of people getting caught up in it. They could potentially be looking for articles of clothing. We had a full description of what this child was wearing last time he was seen. And we have to also base whether the mother is being truthful about this report, because we look at Orrin and Orson West, Sincere and Classic from Bakersfield, California. They were telling us that they went missing on December 15th of 2020, when in fact they were murdered sometime between September 1st and September 30th in 2020. So they made that whole thing up and it was a ruse. Now,
Yeah.
in this case, it's not that, because the babysitter, she confirmed that she saw this child and his sibling the day before. So our time frame is pretty close, but we have to base honesty on this woman. And Leilani is not an honest person. You know, we could see that right here from the interview from tonight. But
Where's that sibling now?
pieces of clothing, yeah, I didn't even want to open up that can of worms because it's gonna.
I am, because I'm afraid for his life or her life.
Yeah, I believe it's a brother. Sleuthie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the thing of it is that, you know, pieces of clothing, shoes, anything. They're looking for anything, and if they recover any of that in that landfill, that's good enough to now go to the DA and get an arrest warrant. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, but
Yeah, that would be. But given the age and size of this child, it wouldn't take much violence to cause this person's death, if violence occurred at all.
20 months.
Physical violence. There could be a number of different things that could have occurred here to cause this child's death. And Casey Anthony comes to mind. Okay,
Yeah.
Overdose the child on an antihistamine. Accidentally overdosed the child on an antihistamine because she wanted to go out party or whatever the case may be.
Right. Yeah. So we got from Nerdy Addict is in the chat. Thank you for being a channel member. Thank you for being a good friend. He stated that the siblings are in the state custody, and that makes sense. The police, for liability reasons, and for safety reasons, you need to get those kids away, because one of them is gone. We saw that in California, in Bakersfield, California City. They took 6. It was a total of 6. So they took the other 4 kids away. And it happened in the Wells case, right? All the rest of them were removed. So
she made no mention of her other children.
No.
In the press conference, like, they don't exist anymore. If you're wrongly accused, if you're being falsely accused and your children have been taken away from you, wouldn't you be complaining about that? Wouldn't you want your children back?
Yeah. At this difficult time, you would want to be able to hold and snuggle with your kids. But she, in the eyes of the law, was not, was an unfit mom or whatever. They removed them for safety. I would say that removal is going to be the check boxes for safety reasons, and nobody's going to argue that. No family court judge is going to argue that. Any other questions, Sleuthie? Because I want to move on to quickly and then wrap up with Harmony Montgomery, because there was an arrest today in that case. Do you got any more questions for Ed or I?
No, that's it. Thank you.
You're the best. Thank you for what you do. We appreciate you tremendously.
Thank you, Sleuthie.
All right, there she goes. So today, segueing a little bit off of Quinton's case, and I just wanted to mention this because Adam Montgomery, Harmony Montgomery's dad, was arrested today and charged with murder second degree. Ed and I covered Harmony Montgomery and continue to cover that case extensively. We looked at that last search where they removed that refrigerator, and today they talked about biological evidence that linked him to her death, and they said he used a closed fist to kill his daughter. Just horrific. I mean, I don't know how many people are following that case in the chat, but the wheels of justice is in motion, and the first part of it is happening today. He's was booked and charged at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time with murder second degree, and a slew of other charges. Ed, you're smiling. You see anything in the chat that you want to?
No, I'm just like, we knew this was going to happen. Eventually, she was going to roll on him, and that's exactly what she did. She cut a deal, and she gave up what happened.
Yeah, he's referring to Kayla Montgomery. That's Adam Montgomery's wife at the time. I said it early on. Ed and I both agreed that she would roll on him because they were separated. He's in jail for an extended period of time. She knows that he's not getting out. She saw an opportunity for freedom, and she said, you know what? He either told her what he did, or she was there and witnessed it, or was in the next room. We don't know. But
she has her own charges.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right.
people are upset, like, oh, she's going to walk away and be scot-free. That's not the case here. She's not going to get away scot-free, but the prosecutor in the plea deal probably promised her she won't spend the rest of her life in jail. But he will. And, you know, in the charges, it talks about the tampering, not only with the human, with a corpse, but they talk about
Witness tampering.
Yeah, witness tampering. And that's the tampering on Kayla Montgomery.
Absolutely.
And his other girlfriend that he was apprehended with on December 31st, she died of an overdose conveniently in a motel. I would be looking at that.
It wouldn't surprise me if they did a controlled call with her on him and got him on tape, incriminating himself.
Yeah, anything's possible. We definitely will hear about that going forward. I want to just go to the chat quickly because we got about 4 or 5 more minutes before it's an hour, and I think you got to go, right? You got to run at 9.
Yeah, I turned back into a pumpkin.
He turns back into a pumpkin at 9. So let's turn to the chat and see what you guys got. So Jolene, our good friend, she says, KM needs to spend the rest of her life there. She's talking about Kayla Montgomery. Thank you for being kind. I don't think she'll spend the rest of her life in jail. I think that she's going to cooperate and be a witness for the prosecution for the state, and she will probably get out. And I would give 10 to 15 years is what she would probably be looking at, as opposed to life in prison. What else? We always knew that Bo Sheet says we always knew he was guilty. Yeah. I mean, I said it on my last stream when I showed him coming out, when they showed the body cam footage. Remember it was like 6 days ago, I did a live on Adam Montgomery, and we showed all of the camera, the body cam footage. And when he was being booked and coming out into the courtroom, he had that face of evil. I don't know what happened to Ed. Maybe he ran out of Wi-Fi. So something happened with Ed. He had to cut loose for a second. But yeah, so I kind of called it when I saw him coming out of that, out of central booking. He had that face of evil, like he knew like the gig was up. But we're going to be following both of these cases closely, and now we have to hope and pray that we get an indictment. A grand jury has to have a true bill indictment. They're going to have to arraign him tomorrow. They were talking about arraignment for Adam and Montgomery tomorrow. You're going to look for the true bill indictment, and then a trial. The trial's got to commence. So it's a long process, but the wheels of justice are in motion. The wheels of justice are in motion. Ed Wallace is back. I think he paid his phone bill, so it came back. Ed, what happened? What happened, Ed? Ed, are you being held hostage somewhere? Wallace? Ed? Is this uncomfortable for everybody, or is it just me? I don't know what happened to Ed. He's trying to work it out. As soon as he gives me the thumbs up and where he can hear us, obviously I can hear his audio, but he couldn't hear me. Let's see. Ed, are you back?
Yeah, it looks like my signal is going bad.
Uh-oh. I might not have to, I might not buy that thing that you sent me the link for. Anyway, so he's using a pocket MiFi kind of, setup.
All right, Ron, I got to go.
All right, Ed, take care. All right, so there goes Ed. All right, man, listen, do me a favor, guys. Who wants to see, all right, before we end this thing, because I don't like to end abruptly, who wants to see the interview with Quinton's step monster, Leilani? If you guys want to see it again, I'll play it. We'll play it one more time. We'll let it roll. But Ed's back to business. Ed is back to his teaching tonight. So let's play it. I'll play it for you guys one more time. It's only 3 minutes.
Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for the news at 6. I'm Dawn Baker. In a WTOC exclusive, Leilani Simon, the mother of missing Chatham County toddler Quinton Simon, is speaking out tonight for the very first time since he was reported missing nearly 3 weeks ago. Chatham County Police and the FBI believe Quinton is dead and are actively searching a local landfill for his remains. Police say Leilani is the only suspect in his disappearance, as well as his death. And tonight we have team coverage with our Shay Schrader and investigative reporter Max Dieknike. We begin with Shay, who joins us live outside of the Simon home. Shay, what did she talk to you about?
Leilani and I spoke about a number of things, including what she remembers from the morning she first reported Quinton missing to what life has been like as the days have gone on, still with no sign of Quinton. I talked to Leilani as well as her mother, Billy Howell, who were both just distraught over Quinton's disappearance. They say they've been harassed in the days and weeks since Quinton disappeared, but Leilani wants everybody to know that she's not.
Isn't it funny that Leilani says that they're being harassed? Come on. You're out in a bar drinking, taking shots of Patron and carrying on while your son, FBI is searching in a landfill for your son? Give me a break.
Not running away.
I'm here. I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
Chatham County Police have repeatedly said that though they've named Leilani the prime suspect in her son's disappearance and death, they don't believe she's a flight risk. Leilani says that she and her mother, Billy Howell, spend their days in the backyard of their home because it's too difficult to be inside with reminders of Quinton and the fact that he's gone.
Every day that goes by is less tears and more anger, not knowing what's happening.
Remember here, she at no point uses her son's name. She never calls him Quinton. She never refers to her son by his name.
If that's even understandable. Anyway,
it's too difficult to be inside with reminders of Quinton and the fact that he's gone.
Every day that goes by is less tears and more anger, not knowing what's happening. If that's even understandable. You wake up every day angry, hoping that you're going to get a phone call, and that phone call just doesn't come.
CCPD and the FBI haven't released many details in the case and haven't said why they believe Quinton is in a landfill. Police say they're doing that to preserve any potential court cases down the line. Leilani and Billy tell me that they get their new information about the case from watching the news and that they feel all they can do now is hope.
We want something great to come out of this, but mostly we want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found happy and alive. We want him back in our arms, holding us. That's what we want. We just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and we're hoping that,
And they're feeding him, and he's in someone's house. Come on.
Maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior. But it's not. That's their best hopes at this point. It's holding us.
I just want to I want you guys to look at Grandma and the way she looks away from her. Just take note of that. Body language 101. She's kind of withdrawing herself, like looking away from her, almost in disgust, is the read that I'm getting. And I could be wrong, but I think I'm right.
That's what we want.
See how she looks to her?
In somebody's house and they're feeding, holding us.
She looks to her mom, and then the mom further looks away.
That's what we want. We're just hoping that he's in somebody's house and they're feeding him, and we're hoping that, maybe they wanted a baby or couldn't have a baby. Maybe they thought they were his savior. But it's not.
What?
That's their best hopes at this point.
Chatham County Police say they have no reason to believe that Quinton was abducted or kidnapped, and they have evidence that suggests he was placed in a dumpster and that his remains are in the landfill that they're currently searching. Leilani Simon hasn't been charged with anything at this time, but police say she is the only suspect in her son's disappearance.
All right. Listen, I hope and pray sooner than later we will have an arrest in this case. Because the more time that goes by, the more community unrest happens, the more possibilities for Leilani to do a whole host of stupid things. We don't want to see another case of no justice served. Example, Brian Laundrie, right? So I'm not even going to go there, but you know what I'm referring to, folks. As this thing keeps playing out, we're into day 20. Coming up to day 20. There's potential for flight risk. There's potential for the Brian Laundrie effect. And if that happens, we will never see justice for Quinton. So this is why I say I hope sooner than later that the long arm of the law grabs her and collars her and brings her in. So I'm going to leave you with that. I hope that each and every one of you consider subscribing to this community. Ed Wallace and I will continue to cover every angle of this case. I'm going to try to grab one of our body language experts. And I just saw Timmy Acosta in the chat. Thank you for joining, Timmy. The reason I have Ed Wallace with me is because of Timmy Acosta. So I give thanks and praise to Timmy. And I want to say thank you to the moderators, the Patreon supporters, the folks who positively engage, anybody who has given super chat during the course of this live stream. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are what makes this a great place, and you help to continue keeping us on the air and doing this coverage of missing person cases that almost all the time these things turn into murder investigations. So I appreciate you, Diane B. from across the street. She's waving the hand and saying hello. Thank you, each and every one of you, for positively engaging. That I can't say enough. It's really important because I'm proud of this community. I'm proud of the way you guys carry yourselves while you're on my live streams. It's our live streams. When we are together, I'm proud of you guys, how you express yourselves. And it's a testament to the kind of great human beings that we have that come around. This is not for everybody. We don't do jagaloonish stuff. We're not acting like fools here. We're trying to give you information that's valid, that's pertaining to the subject that the title is of the video, and we try to bring it to you with professionals from the different trades within the law enforcement community. So if you like that, stick around. Again, you're never going to see jagaloon crazy behavior here and wild speculation. So I appreciate each and every one of you. I want to say thank you. And as I always like to end these things, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially all victims of crime and their families across the globe. We send especially Quinton Simon and Harmony Montgomery, the good people who are around those folks, those little babies. We send them strength and prayers, and let's get around them. Let's support them. Let's do what we can to have justice served in these cases. Good night from New York City. Until we see you guys again, thank you for joining. Peace from DutyRon and Ed Wallace.